So let's start off with Zach. How about you? Why don't you
Oh
kick us off
man,
with what'd you read this
it
week
was kind
or
of a
last
light
week?
week, right? It's kind of light. I feel like in comparisons, I feel like the past couple of weeks have been really kind of big ones. Man, what really stood out to me? Okay, so I'll talk because I know I'm sure we're gonna do the Venom stuff. I'm sure we'll talk Absolute Superman, but
Well, let's kick us off with the Venom stuff because we have been
okay,
slacking on the event stuff. So let's
yeah,
let's you and I and I'm sure I don't know if you're Noah, you're keeping up with any of the Venom War stuff, but we
I've
have been
heard.
slacking on it.
Yeah.
So what do we have? We had Venom War 4 and we had Venom War Spider-Man number 4.
Yeah, and then last week we had what was it? The Lethal Protectors ended, and then
Symbiotes,
the
Zombiotes, or whatever.
Zombiotes ended as well. Yeah.
Okay, so last week, Lethal Protector, I enjoyed it well enough. I liked the whole Shocker aspect. Him and Boomerang. That was kind of cool, like friends and stuff, and kind of pieces of shit banding together. Like that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't amazing by any means, right? But like
Mhm.
it wasn't horrible. Um, the Zombiotes, right? That was the
Well, that was the Zombiotes. Lethal Protectors is the one with Silver Sable
oh yeah,
and
Lethal Protectors. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You know what? I
I
don't think I
I
read that.
enjoyed that Lethal Protectors. I think it was
Okay.
very interesting with Silver Sable and the other team who have the symbiotes in them, and they kind of use them sporadically.
Yeah, dang it.
And
You know
then
what? I need to read that one. I missed that one.
they reintroduce Shriek, so she kind of comes back.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
She's kind of like the hidden weapon or secret weapon that nobody realized that could kind of take out the symbiotes or zombiotes, because obviously that's where we're heading. Um, and then
There
yeah,
was
this
like the
week,
Fantastic Four one shot also.
yeah, I really wasn't feeling that
I
because
didn't either. Yeah.
I really don't get too much of the Fantastic Four stuff. So trying to read just like a random one shot with them and
Yeah.
the Venom stuff wasn't that great. But again, this week we had the Spider-Man number 4, so that kind of finishes off, Spider-Man dealing with having the symbiote, not having the symbiote, and then also with Mary Jane as Jackpot. And we kind of see, his choices throughout each issue, I would
Mhm.
say.
Yeah.
He was kind of like didn't know what he wanted, the life he could have had if he would have kept her and kept the symbiote. And so,
Yeah. I felt like it was definitely one of the better miniseries for Venom War, the Spider-Man issues, but at the same time, it felt like it's almost like they're like, "Hey, we got to do Venom War." Oh, okay, well, we got to have Spider-Man in here. We got to do Peter Parker somehow, right? They just with this
mhm.
connection with Venom. It felt like it wasn't bad, but I didn't feel like it was needed. I don't feel like it pulled the story anywhere. I guess you get some closure more or less between Spidey and the Venom symbiote, which at the same time, like, did we need that? I don't really feel like we did. Um, it wasn't horrible, but it definitely didn't move the needle for me at all.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it wasn't bad, I guess.
All right. And what do you think about Venom War 4? So finally we're
Yeah.
back on
So,
track.
yeah, the previous issue we saw what Dylan kind of become the Venom symbiote split and take over Eddie and Dylan, and them kind of both have it, and we had this fight show up. I liked how I really enjoyed the stuff that they brought with Anti Venom, how he kind of came in and Eddie kind of like merged Anti Venom through the King in Black stuff, and then kind of went back to him being the original Anti Venom. I liked seeing him as like OG Anti Venom for a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but even I mean, I don't know. I'm not sold on this whole Venom War thing. It's kind of like a whole like rigmarole back and forth, right? And then it's like, oh, Carnage and Meridius, and then oh, Necro All Black Spear, and then I don't know. You could see though, you definitely could see in this issue, right? Like how Eddie's going to end up with Carnage and like the
Yeah, because there's
Arsenal.
that total at the end with
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they totally like set it up like where something's going to happen, and everyone kind of got Carnage defied, if that's even a word. And yeah, I mean, it was okay. I'm ready for it to be done. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's like still a few more minis or one shots, to be
Looks like
honest.
Wolverine's coming out. It still has his to round out his. There's Venom War 5. What other ones are there? You said there's some one shots, you think?
I think so. I forget. I haven't looked at the back of the book,
Yeah.
so
I don't know. I mean, whatever. I'll check them out, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's okay. But Yeah, so, moving on from the Venom War stuff, I think some of the books I really enjoyed, I liked JSA. I picked up JSA #1. Um, I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
almost picked that up.
Yeah, it was cool, man. I've always found JSA intriguing, but it's hard with DC, right? Because you have these characters and they're good characters, but I always feel like, okay, I'm going to pick up JSA and I want to read Justice Society and I want to follow Midnight. I want to follow, Dr. Fade, the Hawkman, Hawk Girl. I want to follow all them. But inevitably, bro, I know DC is going to kill that title because it won't sell well or something won't happen. So it's almost like it's disappointing because I'm like, yeah, I'd like to go in and explore these characters, but I don't feel like I'm gonna get any buy-in or payback for it from DC. So, but I like them, and I wanted to check it out, and we'll see what happens, But I don't know. It was cool. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Like I like the team that they did. I like how they I'm trying not to spoil anything for anyone who read it, or hasn't read it. I mean, I like how you have your core JSA, right? You got like
Oh, of course.
Jay Garrick, Alan Scott, the Hawks, and Dr. Fate, right? Even though it is Khaled, not what's his name? Kent.
Mhm.
And I like how they kind of took him out. Like right out the gate. It's like, yo, here's your JSA. Boom, those guys are gone. Like they're kind of like side on the side right now. And so they focused on Jade and Obsidian, and I didn't know there was a female Wildcat. I'm not familiar with
Yeah,
who she is. Is she
I feel like
related
she's
to
been
the
around for a
original?
I feel like she's been around for a while now. No?
Yeah, I have no idea. I wasn't sure if that is like typically it's like a daughter or like a something.
Yeah.
Um, who else was in the team? Obviously, there was a new Midnight. It was a female
Hour
Midnight.
Man. There's an
Our
Hour
Man.
Man in there. Yeah, he's
No.
Sandman? Sandman.
Sandman, a new Sandman as well.
Hmm.
Not Wesley Dodds. So new for me is what I'm saying. Not necessarily like a brand new created character. But yeah, it was cool, man. I liked it. There was a little twist at the end, which was really cool. So it should be kind of fun moving forward. But like I said, I don't know how much they're gonna go with it.
Who's currently writing that series right now?
Oh man, it's Lemire. Yeah, Jeff Lemire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I
yeah,
might
Jesse Quick, is in there. Our Man, Sandman, Jade.
yeah.
Yeah.
Might have to look into that.
Yeah, that was actually one of the big reasons I picked it up. So I love Lemire, and I like his off superhero titles, but I do love his superhero stuff as well. I think he writes really well.
Yeah.
X Force, X Factor, meh, they were okay. Nothing great. I'm liking the Sacrificers. You're not reading that, are you, Justin?
No, I dropped that title, unfortunately.
It's pretty fun. I enjoy it quite a bit. It's not amazing, but I like it. I like Remender.
It's like the only Remender book I just don't I just can't
Right.
get into for some reason.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I feel like it'll be a title when it's done, dude. I think you should go read it. I do think when you can read it as like a full, complete story, I think it's going to be a lot better. I think it's going to be one of those. And then like I know we'll talk about. I'm sure you want to talk about Star Wars. You go ahead. I think I'm
No.
None of these were like real. There wasn't. I didn't get to read Something Is Killing Children 0. Did you read that one?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
It was so it's like a precursor to #1, obviously.
What?
So it's
I've never heard of that.
But like I just feel like we've been reading, this last story arc, like the Road Stories.
Yeah.
And that was like its own thing, but this was before our Archer Peaks, like the obviously #1 that sets up everything, and it's same thing. Like there's things that are going on within the different houses. So I mean, you may like it because it's got the blue masks, and you kind of find out that there's all this kind of drama / corruption within the houses. So there's nothing really that happens other than that. Like one of the blue masks is talking to this girl who's seen a monster, and you find out that Erica killed the monster to save this town. Blah blah blah. It's I think the Road Stories was better than this.
Okay.
But yeah.
I did like the X-Men book. I forgot about that. X-Men 7 was awesome.
Oh yeah,
Some
I know.
Great scenes with like Cyclops and Magneto. Amazing scenes.
Like, hey, let's have a beer. He's like, So the best is when he quotes, he's like, "Really? To me, my X-Men?"
Yeah, to me, my X-Men, yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah. No, it was
Um,
great dynamic between the two of them. But
nice.
yeah, go ahead.
So for me, obviously we could talk about Batgirl #1. Super excited that that title's back after we had the last series was Batgirls, which was Cassandra Cain, Stephanie Brown, and you had Oracle. This one kicks us off with just the old school Cassandra Cain stuff. So I'm happy to see that because that was a long ongoing series
Mhm.
that started in the late 90s. That's kind of for the most part a lot of people's Batgirl. Because Batgirl was in the 60s and 70s, kind of got her back broken, and then she was Oracle for so long that it really wasn't until New 52 that she came back. So you had a good 10 plus years of Cassandra realistically as Batgirl. So you have her and her mother, Lady Shiva, and they're pretty much fighting off this new ninja force. So I'm excited to see where this goes because I always like a good Batgirl storyline. You had the Alien verse Avengers #2 came out. That was really interesting. You kind of find out some stuff, even though this is a whole Elseworld story.
Mhm.
There's some stuff that happened in the first issue that you kind of realize that they're really pulling from like Prometheus and the engineers. If you're a big, Prometheus and what's the other one? What was the one after Prometheus?
Covenant.
Covenant, yeah.
Yeah.
So you get some stuff in there, and you find out that there's still more of these superheroes that are still alive, and how they have to kind of basically say, "Screw this! We're like, we got to leave Earth." Like, there's nothing they could do to save it. Kahori #1. Maybe
Oh
you guys
yeah.
check out Kahori.
No. How was it?
Um, it was okay. I wish they would have done a little bit better to set her up because it's like if
It's
you
just a
didn't
one
watch
shot,
her,
right?
yeah, but I think they're gonna do something with her. So it's in the multiverse. They kind of really don't even explain unless you watched What If. You kind of be like, I don't really understand this, but you realize who she is, where she's from, in the sky space stone, like with all her people. A version of Loki comes, steals some amulet, and then she goes to 616, and she's fighting alongside Echo and Daredevil, and then she leaves that universe, goes to another one, um, beats Loki, and then you kind of find out that she's like, oh, I kind of would like to go back to that universe at some point. So it kind of sets it up
Hmm.
where she probably will end up in the 616, is my guess. Um, Probably, I'm sure we're going to talk about Absolute Superman, so let's just go
Yeah.
right into it. Did you read it?
No, every time I go to pick up Absolute Wonder Woman, Batman, anything, they've all been sold out of my LCS because I didn't
Wow.
add them to my pull list.
All
So
right.
I have not had the chance to even grab any of them yet, unfortunately. But I've heard nothing but great things.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
was good, dude.
it was good. I don't know if I feel that enough stuff is in this issue to say it was the
I get what you're
best or
saying.
even.
Yeah.
I feel like it was definitely the weakest. It's definitely the weakest of the three.
Really?
But I think there's a
Okay.
lot to look forward to.
Yeah. And it's
His
just started.
armor is very interesting. I mean, I'm not gonna spoil too much for Noah to check out, and other people. But his armor has some. You actually get a lot more background. I was surprised you get a lot more origin of Krypton and his parents than you do of him. I feel
Yeah.
like,
And so I really liked that.
Interesting.
I liked the take on like the social structure of Krypton, like
Mhm.
how the symbol. I know. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, you can.
we're gonna ruin it. It's not ruining it really, but the S doesn't refer to the L family in this series. It refers more to like the working class
Oh,
Mhm.
interesting.
people. So it's almost like Krypton is very much a flawed society for sure, where there is like the science people are at the top, and if you piss them off, if you don't toe the company line, you get kind of like put down in the bottom, and that's what happens to both uh, Cal's parents in this, and so they're not like Jor-El's not like the top dog in this. He's just kind of like a lowly guy who's still really very smart. We don't know how his son got off the planet or anything yet, but I also like the aspect who it's a it's a little tweaks, right? Like what we saw with Absolute Batman with Martha being alive. And in
Mhm.
this, Clark is, 7 or 8 years old with his parents on Krypton. So he's not a baby who's sent into space. So he has some interaction with his parents. He has some memory of Krypton moving forward
Mhm.
in this universe, which is going to be, I think, is going to be very interesting how that plays out. And who's to say they're not alive with him, right? Like we didn't see any of that. We didn't see the escape of Krypton. But yeah, the armor thing, I like that. I liked how there was almost like a guy in a chair. Like he's got like his
Got his
Yeah,
neck.
there's definitely
his
kind of like
Krypton
the
ship like talks to him and like channels his power and stuff. Oh, I mean, I assumed it's the Krypton ship, right? Like
yeah. It's almost like Skeet for
yeah,
Booster Gold, right?
that's a good reference. Yeah. He definitely has them like AI or like Tony Stark's Jarvis, right? Like he
Oh
kind of
yeah,
has
yeah, that too.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked the little plays on like the peacemakers.
hmm
What else did we see? There was another call out.
Well, obviously, there's the Lois Lane thing,
The
which
Lois Lane, but
we
there
were
was
gonna get. You knew you were gonna get, so that's kind of a twist.
Lazarus, the Lazarus stuff, like kind of hinting at like the Lazarus Corporation that he was kind of like
hmm
going up against, which you obviously thinking Ra's al Ghul. Maybe there's something going on there. So
Brainiac. There is a
oh
Brainiac.
yeah, the Brainiac at the back, like at the
Yeah, there was something
obviously,
interesting about that. But
yeah,
yeah, I liked. Yeah, back to the parents thing was really interesting too, because they kind of talked to you about how his father was, top of his class, and he knew that the
yeah,
the planet was going to end, and everybody laughed at him, and then he couldn't get a job anywhere, and now he's just
right.
some like minor engineer, and the same thing like his
It's like a
mother is very
foreman of the
smart.
mines. Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, it's just they're just like middle class workers. So
hmm yeah,
uh, I like that. Yeah, I definitely like that one. But probably pick of the week for me was Ultimate Six.
yeah. It's good.
Yeah. So you get all the Ultimates come together. They're trying to make this forefront fight against the Maker, trying to get into his council, and they meet up and they meet and find the Hulk of this universe, and he's got his own little council of gamma radiation characters. But not only that, but he's got the
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 immortal
Iron
weapons.
Fist. Yeah.
Well, that's who
Yes.
his people are. They're all the immortal weapons, like Fat
Yeah.
Cobra and Bride of Nine Spiders and all them.
Yeah. So it was just like these guys stood no chance, right? There was this was a brutal fight, and they just got their asses kicked by not like an enraged Hulk, but like a more focused
Mhm.
and
Like a monk Hulk. And like
yeah,
I
exactly.
loved the fight, like it was like hit with 2 times Hiroshima level. It's like,
Yeah.
oh shit. Like, and then like the different names of the moves were all like gamma. It was callbacks and like Easter egg type calls for like the moves and stuff, which was really cool. It was a fun issue. That was probably like the best way to describe it. It was a really fun issue.
Yeah. And
But
then of course you get Doom to kind of just come in and save the day. Not save the day, but save
save them.
them
Yeah.
to save the issue. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I think the Ultimates was definitely
That
my
was a
pick
good
of the
one.
week. So
Very cool.
what about you, Noah? What do you got reading since you got some LCS pickups?
Oh yeah, so I started off small, just a few series. So I'm picking up Batman, Detective Comics, and Nightwing right now.
Mhm.
And I thought it was the perfect time to jump in because DC just started the all new or the all in initiative that they're doing, and they did the all new creative team for each series. So I feel like that's a good time to jump in. I know Tom Taylor went from a great Nightwing run, which I need to catch up on. He went over to Detective Comics, which I enjoyed that first issue. That one was I'm confusing Batman and Detective Comics right
Oh,
now.
of course, yeah.
Yeah. The Detective Comics was with him. Oh, he had flashbacks with his family, stuff coming from the past, and they did like a small change to the origin of like Joe Chill and like his father, which was super interesting. It gave a nice twist at the end, so that was really interesting. I'm interested to see where that goes. And Tom Taylor, he's done great work, so definitely have high hopes for that. Batman, that one is dealing a lot with the Riddler, and then I didn't realize that Vandal Savage is police commissioner right now,
Yeah.
which is
You're even missing a
insane.
lot.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah,
around
no,
for a little
I'm
while.
basically at this point just now jumping into modern comics, so it's very interesting. And then you have, I think his name was Captain or Commander Star, who was like the new vigilante in town. So
Yeah.
that's definitely interesting, and so that one's now 2 issues into the new creative team, so I'm enjoying that so far. Maybe not as much as Detective Comics right now. And then Nightwing, I've only read the first issue of the All In Initiative, and that one is interesting. I love Nightwing, and I think it's Dan Waters
Mhm.
is the one who just picked it up. He just did, I think, Detective Comics. He just came off of, right?
I'm not
It
sure
was
where he
Rom
came from.
V. Rom V was writing it. Can't
Yeah, I
remember who was
think
doing the
Waters
art.
was almost like a co-writer or something like that. I think his name is on the book. Um, but yeah, we're gonna have to see where that one goes too. Again, I got to catch up with Tom Taylor's run on that because that one was all praise from what I've heard. So, but it's very early to tell. I feel like how well these creative teams are going to do until we get a few more issues in. But I am enjoying it so far though, and I think I did pick up Wonder Woman 2. I haven't read it yet, but that one we're going to see. And then based off of Zach, I might pick up JSA soon. So
Yeah, I think you
yeah,
like it.
yeah, we're gonna see. We're gonna see where this brings, and maybe I'll be adding some Marvel or something in my pull lists. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I'm so far enjoying all those right now. But
Yeah, I think this week's Batman and the first issue of Detective Comics All In was very interesting because I feel like now they're starting to almost
A
kind
lot of
of
Thomas Wayne stuff.
yeah, exactly. A lot
yeah,
of like meshing together. So
it is.
it doesn't really go like that with how Batman and Detective. It's always been two separate storylines for a very long time. New 52 and everything else,
Mhm.
unless there was like an event. And the fact that like you have that, there's some things that you find out about his parents with this whole Riddler stuff, and like you said, like the Joe Chill stuff and Detective as well. And I haven't been reading. I read very early on in the Rebirth run, and then I
Yep.
kind of stopped. I think after like 1027, I was like, all right, it's hitting a milestone issue. I was like, I'm done. I'm gonna stop collecting this. And talking with Paperweight, man, he loved it. He loved the Ram V stuff, and I just couldn't stick with it. I was like, I'm just going to stick with Batman. Now the All In has definitely changed over, where you definitely see a great time, a good jumping on point, because Batman's always, like it's like when do you jump in on Batman, right? I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
the characters,
Right.
but and then there's just some stuff that happens in this week's Batman, which is pretty wild towards the end.
Yeah, I was definitely almost confused about what happened at the end of the most recent Batman issue. I was like, "What?" I was like, "Wait, hold on." I was like, Detective Comics though, I think that's probably my favorite out of the 3 so far.
Mhm.
I also like the idea of how they're mentioning how Batman is definitely getting older now. And they have this like possible like almost holy grail like medical thing that they might do to make him a little bit younger. So that'll be interesting to see if he goes for that. Because I think he even mentioned in the book how like I've never wanted to use like supernatural or other methods to make myself younger, but this is purely medical. So he's kind of
Oh
thinking
yeah,
about it. So it's interesting to see if he actually goes for it or not, and then we'll have an even younger Batman and
Hmm.
last another 80 years. So
yeah, because he meets up with like some other rich people, right?
yeah,
When he's
yeah, and he was
regular
like, "Oh yeah,
Bruce, and
last time I saw them, they were definitely looked a lot older, and they look like they're 10 years younger now." So
yeah,
it's interesting for sure.
yeah, it was good. It was definitely two good issues. So